Good morning and welcome to the Oasis Center for Spiritual Living, where we come together as one, providing spiritual tools for daily living. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Reverend Tucker. I'm the senior minister here at the Oasis, and I have this great team that God has provided me. First of all is my lovely assistant, Faith, who has a cold, so she's not going to talk. She's only going to wave. Please say good morning, hello, hi, however you want to greet us. When we're in a facility, we can see who's out there, but through the software, we don't have that ability. So Faith will be the one answering you. She knows me better than I know myself because she's been my assistant since the day she was born. So, and I always go back later and look to see if, I need to add anything or that. But usually she's right on. So anyway, and there will be pre-programmed music instead because, like I said, she's sick, so she's not able to sing today. So thank you for being here, Faith, as sick as you are. And then there's my partner in crime, the wise and powerful Oz. For those of you who don't know how he got his name, we did the Wizard of Oz as one of our programs at the Denver church. And he dressed up as the Tin Man, actually. But we had all these bobs, and so it was just easier. So we started calling him Oz, and it stuck. And he is now eternally Oz. But he is our practitioner of the day, my first baby practitioner. And he will be praying us in and praying us out today, and he'll be available at the end for our 1-minute miracle. So thank you, Oz, for being here. He is in Wisconsin. I just got back from Vegas. I got a little frog in my throat, so I'm going to do my best here. Excuse me. Today this month we're doing the Back to Basics series. Last week we did the thing itself, which is God. This week we're doing the way it works, which is love and law. So I'll be talking about that here in a minute. If you want to do a watch party, there's a watch party button. It's a great way for people who aren't familiar with us to see what kind of talks they can expect. And you can talk back and forth between the two of you, you and the other person or people without bothering anybody because you're at home, right? So, all right. So close your eyes if that feels comfortable. Allow the service to uplift and inspire you as we move into our centering song.
Surely the presence of God is in this place. I can feel the mighty power and the grace. I can feel the rush of angels' wings. I see glory on each face. Surely the presence of God is in this place. I can feel the mighty power and the grace. I can feel the rush of angels' wings. I see glory on each face. Surely the presence of God is in this place.
The presence of God right here, right now. For God is eternal. God is infinite. God is all present. God is everywhere we are, everywhere we can. For that one thing, that all that is what we know. in us right now, moving us, beating our hearts, breathing us, conducting billions of operations in our cells. And I know that it is also spinning the planet we sit on. And it's moving that planet through space around the sun that is moving around in a galactic center that is moving within an intergalactic space. And all are all encompassed in that one being that we call God. It is right now, right here, where you are. Its presence is felt in each and every heart. And I know that this is a presence and a communication between one heart and another, one mind and another, and all within that one greater mind that we call God. For being in that presence, I just revel in the joy and all. And I know that this beauty is good and very good, and I let that goodness flow forth through the surface. And I know that this is we all can share. And for being part of that blessing, I give great thanks and I let it go. And so it is.
And so it is. Thank you, Oz. This next song is from Reverend Fairy Elaine Silver, one that we do every week because it is our philosophy that we are all one. And so if you know the words, sing it loud and sing it proud because you can't bother anybody, right?
We are all one. We are all one. We are all one in it. I hear it and know it, my being. Spirit is all I am seeing. For God is all there is. Grateful am I to be living, open to what I receive, honoring what I've been given, sharing now what I believe. I remember the oneness around me. I surrender to infinite light, knowing the love that's surrounding me is within me by day and night. And we are all one. We are all one. We are all one in it. Yes, we are all one. We are all one. We are all one in it.
Oh, goodness. If you're here, say hello, good morning, hi, however you would like to greet us. We can't see who's out there, so we appreciate knowing who's here listening to us. And if you like something that you hear, whether that's in the music or something I say or the prayer that Oz does, give us that thumbs up. Let us know. We love getting love, so there's always the heart button if you love something that you hear. And if something really strikes you as powerful, please use the wow button. That way I know I'm on track. So anyway, let's see. I am going to play a song for you from Karen Drucker. Grab that real quick. Here it is.
God is my source. God is my power. God gives me everything I need. So I give thanks for all my blessings. God gives me everything I need. God is my source. God is my power. God gives me everything I need. So I give thanks for all my blessings. God gives me everything I need. God is my source. God is my power. God gives me everything I need. So I give thanks for all my blessings. God gives me everything I need. Love is my source. Love is my power. Love gives me everything I need. So I give thanks for all my blessings. Love gives me everything I need. Joy is my source. Joy is my power. Joy gives me everything I need. So I give thanks for all my blessings. Joy gives me everything I need. Peace is my source. Peace is my power. Peace gives me everything I need. So I give thanks for all my blessings. Peace gives me everything I need. God is my source. God is my power. God gives me everything I need. So I give thanks for all my blessings. God gives me everything I need. Oh, God is my source. God is my power. God gives me everything I need. So I give thanks for all my blessings. God gives me everything I need. God is my source. God is my power. God gives me everything and every little thing that I need. And I give thanks for all my blessings. God gives me everything I need. God gives me everything I need. Oh, God gives me everything I need. God gives me everything I need. God give me everything, every little thing, every little thing I need.
All righty then. Let's see. Let me get rid of that. There we go. So every year when we are about to do classes, which we are in September, we start out with the first 4 chapters of the textbook, and we call it the Back to Basics series. Now, last week, like I said, we did the thing itself, which is God. Please do not let the word God interfere with you hearing the message. If God is not a word that you can relate to, you can always change that to universe or Great Spirit or Spirit or Allah, whatever word works for you. God is my word. And so I will continue to use that. But the thing itself is God. And just a brief replay of last week. What we said is that we are made of God. And quantum physics, backs us up on that there's an intelligence in the universe that knows how to create everything and is made of everything in the universe is made of the same stuff. And so we call that the divine intelligence. Quantum physics doesn't say that. But instead of a God that is like a wise judge in the sky with a beard and a long white beard and robes and all that, we think of it as an it. And now that may be strange to some people because we don't say it's a male or female. That's a personality kind of thing. And I'll get more into that later, but it's very comforting to me that it's not a personality, because a personality could then, choose one person over another, for example. But also what that means is that see, we've made God in our image and likeness instead of remembering that we were made in the image and likeness of God, right? So we need, this personality for the God that we created in our own image, because we can relate to it better. I personally am very comforted by the idea that God is impartial and impersonal. Now, some people might say that doesn't sound much like a loving God, but it's impartial because no matter who you are, you can use the principles the same. It doesn't matter whether you're white or black or yellow or purple or green. It doesn't matter, what your sexual preference is, what your gender is, what your socioeconomic structure is. None of it matters because God loves us all the same. So I'm going to talk a little bit about love and law today. And love is one of those things that, we look at love, because today we're going to talk about the way it works. We look at love as a kind of proof, so to speak, that someone cares about us. And that's conditional. That's very conditional. If you love me, you will act like this. Or if you love me, you won't do that. Okay. And God is both love and law. And it's the name, God is the name that we give to universal law, just like gravity is one of the names we give to physical law. So when you think about physical law, for instance, gravity is a perfect example. The only place that gravity doesn't apply is up in outer space. But on the earth, everybody is subject to the laws of gravity. It doesn't mean that like one person is going to fly up out of the gravitational force, and another person might, sink down into the earth. It means that everybody is stabilized on this earth with gravity. And it doesn't matter who you are, you can use it just the same, right? It was so funny. Electricity is the same way. That it's a physical law. And it was really funny. My mother is from Tennessee, Knoxville, Tennessee. And I always wanted to see where she came from. So I was living in this apartment building, and I got friendly with the lady that cleaned all the apartments. And she invited me to go with her and her family to Tennessee. Well, we were in a place called Jellicoe, which is on the Kentucky and Tennessee border. So half the town is in Tennessee and the other half is in Kentucky. It's just interesting. It like you walk through the main street and one side of the street is Kentucky. But anyway, and we were up in the mountains above Jellicoe. Because, my mom was from the hills. So it was cool, that I could kind of see where her beginnings were. And we were staying with this lady, God bless her, this couple. But she had breast cancer. So she was always showing me her scar. And the thing that she was doing, because they had just gotten electricity put in their house. And so she would walk over and she would flip on the light switch and she'd say, see? You turn it on over here, and then you walk across the room and turn it off. And she would show me this like 15 times a day because it was new to her. Now, I've had to live without electricity for, I don't know, I think the longest has ever been 12 hours. And I can't imagine living life that way. And I can't imagine getting electricity for the first time. But what's important to note about that is that no matter who you are, you use electricity, and it works the same for everybody. If I go over there and flip on the light switch, it works. Well, actually in our house we use Google, but and Oz uses Alexa, and but it doesn't matter who turns it on, and it's not like it's going to work for one person and not the other. So the reason I bring that up is because spiritual laws are exactly the same way. It's impartial, and because of that, anybody can use these spiritual laws. In fact, when our founder, Dr. Ernest Holmes, first started out with an organization, what he did was he built an institute. And no matter what faith you practiced, you would come there, learn about spiritual laws, and then take that back to your religion. Well, it didn't work quite that way because the other religions were a little hesitant about this knowledge and information. And so his followers decided that we needed a church. And so instead of an institute, we now have churches, which is fine. We still have the institute, but it's under the hierarchical structure of the church itself. We call them centers. We don't call them churches. We call them centers. But anyway, that is the impartiality of God. The other thing that I find very comforting is the impersonalness, as I said before. I like that it's a divine intelligence. I like that. See, I was raised in Orthodox Judaism, and it was a difficult time for me because I could not believe in a God that would prefer men over women, say. And so, even though the Jewish faith says question everything, there are certain things you're not supposed to question. Like, how is it that God could decide that men are more important than women? I mean, after all, the bloodline comes through us, right? Wouldn't that make us important? It only makes us important in that we are the creators of life. But in terms of privilege and value, it's the men. And so it was difficult for me as a young girl thinking about what my life was going to be like. And the basis for it is all about Adam and Eve, because Eve was the first one to take the bite of the apple, and she coerced Adam into taking a bite of the apple too, which started, the whole knowledge of sin and whatever. And so, we suffer for it because we have cramps and, we have childbirth and it's painful and all of that. We already suffer for that, but we also suffer in being not valued as much. You see what I'm saying? Like almost like second-class citizens. The men, they in the Orthodox, they would separate the women from the men. They would put the women, out back there somewhere. The men were the only ones who were allowed to participate. In fact, when my dad died, I was told, I shouldn't speak at the funeral, which I did. And then when it came time to put soil on the grave, my brothers each took turns, shoveling some dirt on the grave, and they handed me the shovel, and the rabbi was insistent that I not do it. And my brother said, no, she can do that. But the idea is that you desecrate the grave because you're a woman, you see, because you're evil. Well, not evil, but stained, so to speak. Unclean is how they put it. And so because of that, it's very comforting to me to know that God is not a person who has a preference for one sex or the other, one gender or the other, or, black or white or anything like that. And also, God had so-called enemies where he would smite people because they didn't follow his traditions. So I look at that as the impersonalness is actually very comforting, because no matter who you are, God loves you just the same. And like I said, I'm going to talk about love in just a minute, but I want to do the law first because it lays the foundation for all of this. And so what we believe about spiritual law is that it guides everything, that you can use the spiritual laws. Anybody can use them. And when you are in that situation, when you learn that you can do that, then you know how powerful spirituality is. You see, there's always an underlying spiritual truth under all conditions, whether we're talking about money or love or health. There is that encoding in our DNA that is God. So the way it works is through love and law. Now, Ernest Holmes didn't know much about love for a very long time. When he was growing up, he was introduced to Ralph Waldo Emerson, who was a transcendentalist. And he loved the idea of an oversoul, that somehow there was like a Godhead of our divinity. And he loved the idea of circles and spiritual law and all of that. And then somewhere along the line, he was introduced to a lawyer, an English judge, actually, in India named Thomas Troward. And Thomas Troward was a very beloved judge in India because he realized at one point, he was Christian, and he realized at one point, if I'm going to be judging these people, I need to know more about their culture and their religion so that I can give a fair judgment. And so what he did was he studied all of that. And then when it came down to sentencing, he would take all of that into account. But what he found was that in every major religion, there were commonalities between the beliefs. And one of those beliefs was about spiritual law. And so as he began to see those correlations, he began to write books about what he had discovered about spiritual law. Well, Ernest Holmes found this information and began traveling around the United States teaching it. And he taught for a long, long time, and drew huge crowds for that time period. We're talking about 1927. But he would go around and he would talk about the spiritual laws the way Thomas Troward taught it. And it wasn't until he ran into a woman named Emma Curtis Hopkins, who had been trained by Mary Baker Eddy of Christian Science. Now, Emma didn't go along with the whole Christian Science thing, but what she drew out of that was the idea of mysticism. And it was all about the love of God. It was all about meditation and prayer and affirmations and that kind of thing as a gateway so that God could come through. God's love could come through. Now, I see God's love kind of differently because I get an image in my head of this like funnel. All right. So God's love comes down through us like this, and then we use our heart and funnel it out towards other people. That's a much different experience of love than, say, romantic love or familial love or friend love. It's very different. I had this lady in my congregation one time that was sitting on a board of a condominium, I think it was, or a townhouse. I'm not sure. Anyway, there was a woman there that was very difficult. And she kept saying, I'm trying very hard to love her. You keep saying you have to love. And I keep trying very hard to love her. And we got in this conversation one time and I said, you don't have to personally love her. What you need to do is focus on the love of God coming through and loving her for you. And she had this big aha moment. And from that point on, they worked very, very well together, at least the last I heard. And it was because it's not something, if you dislike somebody, it's not an easy task to learn to focus love on them. But if you are saying, I'm being an open channel through which God's love pours, then it's a little bit easier. And so that's what happened. And so that's what I say. God's love is about that. It's about being that agent of God's love instead of you being responsible for loving someone. Does that make sense? And so we're on earth trying to reveal more of that divine love. It's not conscious, it's unconscious, but we're just trying to find the perfect conduit through which God's love can come to us. And we're attracted to people in relationship because we inherently know that God lives there as much as it lives in us. And so what happens is I am attracted to this person because unconsciously I know that God lives there. And it's a lot easier when you have some chemistry with someone to see God's love, right? And then at some point, that kind of wears off, and we are in necessity of being that agent, that channel through which God's love comes. And so when we realize that we're trying to find the perfect conduit through which God's love can come to us, we stop expecting the other person to behave a certain way for us in order for us to feel loved. See, we're really conditional creatures. I mean, it's an interesting thing when you think about what that is, because I know I've said it. I'm sure everybody on the planet has said it at one time or another. if you loved me, you would act like this, right? Or if you loved me, you wouldn't do that. And truly, God loves everyone equally, no matter what, right? You don't have to earn it. You can never lose God's love. And God's love comes through everything. And so, if we believed in a person, let's just put it that way. If we believed in a person, that person could say, yeah, I really don't like your behavior, so I'm not going to love you anymore, right? Or, we were born with free will. That's one of the beauties of being a human having a spiritual experience on the earth, is that we were born with free will and we can do whatever we want with our life. And because of that, the unconditional love of God says, okay, if you're going to run out in the middle of a freeway and hurt yourself, I'm going to let you do that, right? There's no rescue 911. In a lot of faiths, they believe that God will rescue them out of a situation. What I love about our teaching is it's not that. You have the free will to do whatever it is you're going to do, and God's not going to stop you. And that's why, in wars, people will say, why does God let that happen? Because we have free will. And we can choose to use that for good or for evil. I don't believe in an evilness. For instance, we don't teach that there is God and Satan or God and the devil. We don't teach that, because if there were two powers, opposing powers that had equal power, they would cancel each other out, right? And I know God is the most powerful thing on the face of the planet, because when you look around, you see the goodness of life everywhere. And so if there was a power for evil that was more powerful, we would see darkness, right? We would see all kinds of not that we don't see that. I'm just saying it would be everywhere. There wouldn't be any light in the world, you see? And so what I know is that God is all there is, all there ever has been, all there ever will be, only God. And God allows us to live our lives the way we choose to live our lives. And there's no stepping in. It's not like you can call God and go, hey, God, I'm having a problem. Okay, let me put my shoes on. I'll be right down, right? I mean, think about that. That really is how we pray usually. We pray, oh, please, God, please, God, please, God, rescue me from this situation, right? And the truth is, God isn't going to come down and rescue you. That is an old way of looking at God and the function of God. What we teach is that because we have free will, we can declare what it is we want to see, and God will fill in the blanks for us. But it's not going to rescue us from a situation. We must change our consciousness. So when we're talking about the spiritual laws, one of the things we're talking about is taking responsibility. Now, I'm not saying blame. Please understand, blame is much different. Blame is like this. Oh my God, look what I created. Oh my God, how am I ever going to get out of this? Oh my God, my life is just sucks. Do you know anybody that, says FML? But that's blame. That's blaming yourself, blaming God, blaming someone else. When you take responsibility for the creation of everything you see in your life, what you're saying is, I created this, so I can uncreate it. You see how powerful that is? And what's really true about all of that is that if we see it in our world, we are responsible for it, because we create our reality. Okay. If I wasn't aware of it, if other people were aware of it, but I wasn't, it's not my creation, you see? And so in terms of the pandemic and all of that, I mean, I know you're thinking, oh yeah, like I caused the pandemic. No, as a group consciousness, I believe we did. There's in North Texas, they're having a problem with a blood-borne fungus that's killing people. It is resistant to, fungicides, and they're not able to cure it. And I was talking to somebody in Vegas about that, this lady, And when we got on this subject, we started talking about it. She was from Texas, and we were talking about that. And there's, I guess, been 8 people that have died in a two Dallas hospitals, and then someone in Washington, I believe it is, 1 person. But anyway, we were talking about how we've treated the earth like it doesn't matter. And it's almost like the earth is rising up with COVID and this fungus and things of that nature to say, hey, wait a minute, I will wipe you out if you don't pay attention to what's happening on the planet, right? So we were talking about that, and it seems like a pretty logical explanation for all of this. Does that mean that I personally am the only one responsible for that? No. What it does mean is that as a collective consciousness, we have not valued the earth. And because we have not valued the earth, these organisms have grown and are like attacking us, right? And so one of the things that we need to learn to be is more conscious of not only what we do to the earth, but what we do with each other, what we do with God's love. Do we channel through that? Do we allow the funnel? I mean, it gets clogged up sometimes by our beliefs and our mental equivalent, which I'll go over in a minute. But if I'm channeling God properly, it's coming down through me. My funnel is wide open, and then it comes down into my heart and goes out towards someone else. But if we are withholding that, we're not taking care of the planet either, the people of the planet. And so when I think about our love or God's love working through us, what I think about is that we need to be better to each other. We need to appreciate those that are in our lives because they're there for a reason. As much as I would like to say, like no rescue 911 and all that, I do believe God puts people, maybe it's not so much that God puts people in our path as our spiritual beingness that is inside of us puts people in our path to help us learn the lessons we set out for ourselves. I don't believe that God sets us up for lessons. Like God's not going to punish us and God's not going to reward us, which is why we don't teach about heaven and hell, because they're states of consciousness that happen here on this planet. You can't tell me that all these people who are in total reaction are in heaven. They're in hell. Look at what happened on January 6th. Those people were in hell because of the anger and the hatred. And the people who support that behavior are in hell as well. Because there's a part of us that knows it is not okay to spread hatred. It is not okay to spread fear. It is not okay to treat our fellow human doings as if they don't matter, as if I matter more than you do. Let's put it that way. Because everybody matters the same to God. And so when we're focused on the love of God, what we're saying is I'm an open channel for God's love because I want to see more of God's love in the world. I want the world to change because we're focused more on love. I mean, that's really what they mean by the second coming of Christ. Well, it's what we mean by the second coming of Christ. It's not a person that shows up. It's the acknowledgement that Jesus was trying to teach us that our divinity is within, that the Christ consciousness lives within each one of us. And when we have a collective agreement among a majority of people, what we're doing is we're bringing forth that Christ consciousness into the world. The only place I ever agreed with Bush was the 1,000 points of light, although I probably mean it differently than he did. But he was talking about how the world shifts when there's been a conscious change of 1,000 points of light, who touch another 1,000 points of light, who touch another 1,000 points of light. And that's how change happens in the world. So yes, we mean it the same way in that respect. But what I mean it as is that the Christ consciousness is like it's like a candle that you light your candle with someone else's candle. And before you know it, there are 1,000 points of light of that Christ consciousness. And we carry that as who and what we are. And so while we are attached to love coming in a certain way, to be packaged in a certain way, to look a certain way or feel a certain way, have certain reactions or actions, God can't come through that idea. That's where the clog happens, right? And so we open ourselves to be able to receive that. And I'm going to talk a little bit about being ready to receive. That's going to be in the last week, mostly, our form of prayer. But right now, I want to discuss how mental equivalence works. People who were raised with a lot of money, you see that in Vegas a lot. People who are accustomed to having money, you could drop them somewhere else on the planet and they would create wealth wherever they are because they have a mental equivalent for money. Just like someone who's in love has a mental equivalent for love. Or someone who, like my massage therapist, who is a health nut. I mean, literally. She controls every little substance that goes in her body. She takes all these supplements. She eats certain foods at certain times. You know, her whole life is regulated by exercise and diet. Not like diet, like lose weight diet, but like dietary regulation. I don't know any way other to put that. But she has a total mental equivalent for health. And so anything unlike that just doesn't stick to her. And anywhere you would put her, she would flourish in health. Okay. Most of us, we don't eat as well. We know we should eat better, but we don't have that mental equivalent for health. And what I've seen is people who really embrace that wind up very, very healthy. And those of us who don't embrace that, who live our lives to excess at times, don't experience that kind of health. And so the mental equivalent is like a cup that you keep expanding to fill more, whether that's money or, well, prosperity or love or health or anything that you can think of. What it's about is expanding that cup so that it overflows with whatever that is. Okay, so that's God's love. I really wanted to get that point across because we need to be ready to receive. How we increase our mental equivalent is being ready to receive. So our version of it is spiritual mind treatment. Spiritual mind treatment is our form of prayer, but we don't call it prayer, we call it treatment because we are treating our consciousness to be more in alignment with God's experience. So the vibration of God, you would never look at God and say God isn't abundant, right? God isn't love. You wouldn't say God isn't health, right? But yet we're made of God. And so we tell ourselves that I don't deserve love. I don't deserve money. I don't deserve health, whatever that is. And the process of being ready to receive is opening to be that channel of God's love, but it is also getting down to the nitty-gritty about our beliefs that keep us from being able to succeed in health, love, or prosperity. And so we are treating our consciousness. And so we use this little acronym, RURTR. Are you ready to receive? That also happens to be the first letter of each step in our spiritual mind treatment. So if I've prepared myself to be open to the influx of money of God in whatever form it's taking, whether that be love, health, or money, then I am able to experience that. And if I've prepared myself to be open to the influx of God through another person, then I'm going to feel love and feel loved. It's only when I'm not open to that I have to see love in a certain way, or somebody has to prove their love to me. And so what we really need to focus our attention on with spiritual law is, first of all, increasing our mental equivalent. Dr. Ernest Holmes had the most amazing consciousness. I'm not anywhere near that. He opened a business. He opened a room, really, where he was going to pray for people and he was going to counsel people. And he didn't do any advertising. He just sat in meditation and a knowingness that people would come through that door. And there were people who found him by accident. They were looking for something else and they just stumbled across his door, came in to ask a question, ended up staying and being taught by him. And he drew thousands to him. And in 1927, that was not an easy thing, you see. Or even in 1950 something, when he started his radio program, this thing called Life. He drew thousands to him, and that was in the 50s sometime. Those were big numbers when you think about it. Nowadays, that wouldn't be that big. But the mental equivalence piece of it is so important because it was the drawing power of God that drew people to him, because he was so enveloped in a mental equivalence of God and of the abundance of God, whether that was people or money or whatever. So he had a faith that was undeniable. Now, there's a difference between belief and faith. Belief is something that can be changed. Belief is something that we have developed over time, but it's kind of on the surface because it can be changed. When you have faith, it's unshakable. It's a belief, but it's an unshakable belief. You see, like, I don't believe that if I sit in this chair, it is going to support me. I have faith that when I sit in this chair, it will support me. Now, short of me breaking a chair and falling onto the ground, there is nothing that can shake that faith. You see what I'm saying? We have faith that the sun will rise every morning. It's a belief, but it's an unshakable belief. Does that make sense? There's a reciprocal nature of the universe. What we give out is what we receive. And we have to be giving and receiving in order for the reciprocal nature of the universe to work. I'm gonna do a quick little demonstration if you'll participate with me. I want you to take in a nice deep breath. Hold it. Take in another nice deep breath. Hold it. Don't let go. Take in more breath. Can you do it? No, let go. You can't do it because at some point you have to be able to let something go in order to take in more good. That is the whole basis of tithing. That is the whole basis of contributing. The whole basis of why you give so that you may receive, you see. And it's not like I give this $1 because I know I'm going to receive $10 more. It's not like that. It's opening yourself to that flow of circulation, the reciprocal nature of the universe. And without getting superstitious about it, recognizing that there are spiritual laws in the universe that we can use, that we do use, but we can use them consciously. And being present in the moment and knowing that whatever happens is God flowing through us, not trying to make something happen, is the true definition of utilizing those spiritual laws. And so what we want to do is recognize that the thing itself is God, or whatever name you want to call it. And the way it works is through spiritual law and God's love and us being agents for that. And so this week, what I'd like you to do is, as you find yourself in situations where perhaps you're not feeling loved, or you're not feeling abundant, or you're not feeling healthy, to be very conscious that God is that power that is underlying all of that, and that what keeps us from being able to experience the abundance of God, the love of God, the health of God, it's in our DNA to be healthy, right? And so what keeps us from that is the inability to believe, to have faith, not the faith in God, but the faith of God. There's a difference. Like faith healers, it's faith in God, no questions asked, right? The faith of God is something on a deep, deep level that you feel, because you know without a shadow of a doubt, God cannot do for you what it cannot do through you. So this week, as you're experiencing whatever it is, whether that's being resistant to mask wearing, or being resistant to getting a vaccine, or, any of those things, being in fear of being in a big space, or going to the airport and being anxious. Whatever those things are, the focus needs to be on the truth of God is underlying this. And I'm going to focus my attention on that. And everything else will just slip away if we are willing to do that, to be open to receive. So will you do that with me this week? All right, let's have a prayer. In this moment, I just turn my awareness to the infinite power, the infinite presence of God, to that place within me that knows beyond human understanding just how powerful God is, how present it is, how loving it is, how serving it is. Because God is simply all there is, all there ever has been, all there ever will be, only God. And since I know that to be true, I know that about myself. That's where I find myself, in the midst of God, my very essence, my very life, my very being. It is who and what I am. And every thought, every action, every deed is guided and led by that one infinite power, that one infinite presence, that wisdom of the ages that is God operating through me. I know that same truth for the one team of God that I have the privilege and honor to manage. For Faith and for Lynn and for Oz and for Tina. We are one in God. And it's God's heart that beats within us, and it is God's breath that breathes us, and it is God's life that lives through us. We are one. And our human doingness on this team is all about doing the process, the human process, to allow God's message to come through. And so it's good and very good. I know that anyone who is watching today, whether that be in real time or later on, or even tomorrow or a month from now, I know that we are all one. There is no place where one leaves off and the other begins. There's only one. One God, one life, one being, one love. And it is circulating in and through each of us. Mitakuye Oyasin, we are all one. And so I bless this coming week with a knowledge and an awareness of God's truth beyond these human experiences that we have, beyond the appearance of lack, beyond the appearance of not being loved, beyond the appearance of not being healthy. For God is the power underneath it all, and God's truth revealed is what is the most powerful, more powerful than any condition we might have. So I know this same truth to be so for every name that is in the ministry of prayer this week. For whatever condition they are experiencing, I know God's truth is more powerful. So I pull back the veil and I reveal that truth here and now. I claim it for them in their name. I call it good and very good. And I give thanks for this. For knowing it is done, for being of service in this way, my heart just fills with absolute gratitude as I just let this be. And so it is. Amen. Oof. I went out there this time. Part of it is I'm still tired. You know, when you go to Vegas, you need a vacation from your vacation, just saying. All right. So now is our opportunity to receive your gifts, tithes, and offerings so that you can stimulate the law of circulation for yourself. And it is your opportunity to express your gratitude for that which you have already created here on this earth, or that which you have created in the mind of God, but maybe not seen yet in the physical realm. So I'm going to ask you to please go to www.oasiscsl.org, as is shown on the screen and in the comments. And about 2/3 of the way down that page is going to be an offering affirmation with which we bless our offering. And then underneath that is the Contribute Now button. And what's important to know about the Contribute Now button, it used to be called the Donate button, but I don't like the idea of donate. To me, in my mental equivalent, donate means a one-time thing. When you contribute, you are contributing to something larger than yourself. And in this case, it's to the message of God getting out into the world, because unfortunately, we still need to advertise. I don't have the mental equivalence of Dr. Ernest Holmes yet. Working on it. So we still need, some financial income so that we can advertise and that kind of thing. So I'm going to ask you again to go to oasiscsl.org. It doesn't matter whether you're doing this now in real time or you're doing this later. You can say the offering affirmation with us if you go to that website. All right. And so about 2/3 down the page is this offering affirmation. Please say it with me. This perfect gift is spirit in form, circulating and blessing all it touches. Freely I give and joyously I receive. And so it is. Click on that Contribute Now button. And so we have this wonderful team of licensed practitioners in our ministry of prayer that we call the God Squad. Prayer and Squad. Prod. Anyway, we call them the God Squad. And they will pray every day on during the week on your prayers. So on your prayer request. So if in the comments section you will put whatever you would like prayer for, Faith will make sure that it gets on the group page on Facebook that is private, only to the God Squad. But if you don't want it to be public, you can always DM one of us and we will make sure that it gets on there. And so put it in the comments or DM us with your request for the week. All right. And if you would like to participate in the God Squad, you don't necessarily have to be a practitioner, a licensed practitioner. You have to be able to be willing to do affirmative prayer and keep those requests confidential. Just put yes in the comment section and Faith will add you to the God Squad group page. Again, it's private. No one can see it but the God Squad. If you would like to be part of our online community, type more in there, and Faith will add you to our public-facing group page, which is our online community. We post everything there first, and then we post to the world. So I will be posting information about classes. What we're going to be doing is, type more in the comment section. I don't know if I said that. If you would like to be in our online community, I'm going to be posting probably this week the Foundations of Science of Mind class, and it's going to be Thursday evenings, probably 7 to 10 Mountain Time, unless I have a whole bunch of Easterners where we might have to do it a little bit earlier. But anyway, or Europe, which I might have to do a Thursday morning. I don't know. We'll see what happens. You can pay $30 a class right now. When you get to week 5, we need you to pay the balance of it. It's $300 for a 10-week class. Part of that is a fee that we pay to our home office that we're affiliated with, so that we can they can track your progress. So you can go from one church to another and they always have you registered or certified in that class, so you can go on to take additional classes. There is an audit fee if you have already taken the class of $30 for the entire 10 weeks. Of course, you don't have to do the homework. You can do it if you want to, but you won't be turning it in. All right, so the first thing I have is these bracelets and mala beads from Brooks and Bailey. Let me get that up here. Brooks and Bailey. All the proceeds go to Rocky Mountain Lab Rescue, and you can contact them through brooksandbailey0307 @gmail.com. Second thing is Faith, and I guess she can't talk, so I know that this is the Mystic Brew. I know that she has all kinds of intention candles, or intention jars, I'm sorry. And she has some that you wear around your neck. She has some smaller, some larger. Check it out at the Mystic Brew. She also has an Etsy account, so you can check it out there as well. Let me put it. And this is what the $15 size is. You can see it. This was an intention jar she made me for prosperity, which was very nice. I appreciate that very much. And I use it. And then we have an adjunct to that, which is really nice. This is Angel Renee, who sells intention candles and intention tea bag bath stuff. So you just take the tea bags, put it in the bath water, and you focus on your intention while you're taking a bath in these herbs. And of course, the candles. The candles are $25 and the tea bags are $15. They're either 10 or 15. But she has an Etsy account. Faith has that in the comment section. So you can go to her store and purchase those. All right. And then, of course, I always like to mention Reverend Fairy Elaine's music. She travels all the time doing her music, and she can't update her website for some reason. So you will have to reach out to her via email to find out how to make payment to her so that she gets it wherever she is in the United States. And then we have Karen Drucker, and her website is up. She does have a working website, and so wherever she is, you can pay her through the website. And you can buy a song, you can buy a CD, you can buy a songbook. Some of the songbook songs have an American Sign Language, which is really awesome. So we like to support those who support us. So really get on there and buy some stuff from them. And also check out our website, www.oasiscsl.org. We have past sermons on audio. We have current sermons on video. I wish I could do future. Let's see, what am I going to talk about? And we also have information about our practitioners. They are available by appointment for a fee for spiritual guidance. What Oz is going to do at the end of this is the 1 minute miracle, which is not a time for counseling, but a time you can share whatever condition you're experiencing, and he will stop, drop, and pray with you right then and there. And you reach out to him through video chat. But our practitioners are available by appointment for a fee for spiritual guidance. And you just DM them or get to them through Facebook. But you can get all the information about them on our website. And they will set up some sort of way to pay, and then they will reach out to you by video chat at your appointed time. But also on our website, we post, our events, like the classes will be there. And, it's a great way to kind of figure out who we are, if you don't already know. We have pictures of picnics and some other events that we had at the church when we had a facility. So we're only online right now. But anyway, check us out, www.oasiscsl.org. We're also, the video sermons are on YouTube under S. Tucker, and the audio sermons from years past is on SoundCloud, S. Tucker as well. All right. So this last video is one of Karen Drucker's. It's a great meme. Find yourself, if you know the words, sing it loud and sing it proud. But if you find yourself humming along, try to get the words, because it's a great way to feel blessed. And so here it is.
I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so grateful for all that I have. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so grateful. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so grateful for all that I have. I am so am so blessed. I am so grateful. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so grateful for all that I have. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so grateful. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so grateful for all that I have. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so grateful. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so grateful for all that I have. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so grateful. I am so blessed.
I know that there is a perfection of God acting in us as us right now. And I know that this blessing extends through all of creation, for all of it is an expression of that one source, that one power that we call God. For being one in that, I know that it is a blessing that is universal for all. And for that, I give great thanks. And so it is.
And so it is. Thank you all for being here. I know there's 1,000 things you could be doing on a Sunday morning, and we are blessed that you were here with us. Wear a mask, stay safe, get vaccinated. We love you. Come back 10:30 every Sunday morning. Bye for now.